guys, so Trace by Tay here. Today I'm going to show you how to crumb coat a 6-inch cake and just do a basic white smooth sides on it. So we're going to start off. So I have just an 8-inch cake circle right here, and I have my 3 cake layers already baked, and I did freeze them. I made them 2 nights ago, and I wrapped them in saran wrap and then wrapped them in tin foil. I do have tutorials up for that in case you were wondering how I did that. So I have these ready to go. I have my buttercream made and some of my tools, and I have my offset spatula and my Ester Cake Smooth Hound. So these are my favorite tools to work with, and I'll show you why. So let's go ahead and get started. So now that I have my cake round, I'm going to take the bottom of my offset spatula and put some in the middle of the cake board. And then I'm going to grab one of my cake layers and just push down on there. And with the partially frozen cake, it's going to help freeze that buttercream to the cake board so you're not chasing it around while you're trying to smooth it out. So now that that's done, I'm going to go ahead and take a scoop of buttercream. And as far as how much buttercream to use, that is all your preference. If you don't love buttercream, you can do a little bit. This is for my daughter's birthday cake, and she loves buttercream, so I am doing a lot. So with your offset spatula, you're just going to kind of push around the cake. And as you turn your turntable, you're just going to smooth it out. And as you smooth it, a good trick to do is to hold your offset spatula flat and angle it, and it's going to help push the buttercream all the way around to the edge of the cake. And it's okay if the buttercream is falling off on the edges. That's what we want. That'll help with the extra buttercream to give to use for our crumb coat. So I did my first layer, and go ahead and add another cake layer. And at this point, I'm going to get down and just make sure that it is all even. There are different ways to do this if you want, and so just put that down, make sure it's not leaning at this point, because if it is, we're gonna have to offset it with more buttercream, which is never a problem, but easier to just fix it this way. So now we're gonna go ahead and repeat the same step. We're gonna add a pile of buttercream. Using our offset spatula, we are going to smooth it around. Right, now that that's done, we're gonna go ahead and grab our last cake layer. And this one I like to flip upside down, oops, so I don't drop it. And then get down once again, and just make sure that it's not leaning. Okay, give a little push down. Right, now that that's done, I'm gonna go ahead and take my cake cone. And these ones, like I said, are Ester cakes. You can use Treats by Tay and get 17% off on these ones. I use all my cone stripes, everything with these cones. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some frosting right on my cake cone. And then we're gonna go around and I'm gonna smear it on the sides of the cake. And notice how it's pulling the buttercream that came out of the sides. We're just gonna kind of keep going around. We're gonna fill in those gaps right here with buttercream. And this is our crumb coat. And the crumb coat is just to help keep all the crumbs from the cake in this coat and not into your final layer of frosting. And this is also known as the semi-naked look, if you're going for that. So what I did was I scraped it off with my offset spatula, put it right back on here, and then I'm gonna go around and just fill in those gaps. And so at this point, I'm just gonna wanna go around and do a very thin layer around my cake. You wanna be able to see your cake layers since we are adding more buttercream on top of this. And like I do, I just scrape it off, put it right back on there, and keep going around your cake. There are different ways to do this. You can do the piping bag, where you fill in a piping bag and fill in all these areas and then continue to go up. I like using piping bags, but I enjoy using my cake scrapers more, so I like to switch to these. Once again, I just add it on there, go around, fill those areas in. And you're just pretty much going around until that is done. If you've not decorated cakes before, I always say this is the hardest part. So I still have some spots in here. If you prefer using your offset spatula, you can go ahead and just fill that in with that. You do want to make sure that all those gaps are filled in though. Just go around. And then for the bottom down here, you want to make sure that this is all filled in. So I'm going to take a little bit of frosting, put it on my cake cone. I'm going to make sure that the bottom of my cake cone is touching the top of my cake board. And I'm just going to push in buttercream and fill in that gap. And I'm going to go all the way around my cake doing that. If you need to add more buttercream, that is perfectly fine. So I'm gonna go around until all of that is done. And it helps stick to the cake board as well. So I always like to make sure I make that step happen. Go around. There's a couple more areas that I need to fill in. And they're looking a little empty. And I do always use American buttercream. I'm comfortable with it. I like the taste of it, and a lot of people do, so I usually stick with that. Now for the top, I'm gonna take a little scoop of buttercream, plop it right on top. Using your offset spatula, you're gonna go ahead and push the buttercream all the way around until the top of your cake is covered. And we're gonna go ahead and smooth it out. This part does not need to be crazy smooth. I like to get it as smooth as you can, but if it's not insanely smooth and perfect, that is okay, because we are just gonna add more buttercream on top of this. With my with my cake cone, I'm going to go around and smooth it out again. And now with the buttercream that came up on top with those rough edges, we're gonna take our offset spatula, wipe it off, and just pull it in towards the cake. And we're doing that all the way around. Fill in any gaps you have up here. And if you're a perfectionist, you're gonna have fun with decorating. You can never seem to get it smooth enough, or there's always a little air bubble or something that you'll always see, and you just need to learn to just love it. Because at the end of the day, it's really about the taste, kind of. Okay, once that is done, your crumb coat is done. It's ready to go. Everything's done on the side as a semi-naked look. And so usually with this cake, I'll just pop it in the fridge for about 10 minutes and then make sure your buttercream is ready to go. So this, if you want colored buttercream, this is the point where you need to color it. Get your other combs if you're doing a design on there, if you're doing stripes, anything like that, get it all ready to go. And then I'm gonna pop this in for about 10 minutes and I'll be back. All right, so now we are ready for our final layer of buttercream on our 6-inch, and this is like the typical smash cake size. So now what I'm gonna do is for the final layer, I have a piping bag here. And if you've done this before, you're awesome. Keep going, you can start filling it. And if you haven't, let me show you what to do. So I like to take it and flip it open. And then with so if you're right-handed, use your left hand. You're gonna wanna make a C, and that's pretty much your little fill-in cup. And I take my pinky and I hold the bag so as I'm filling it, it's not gonna fall down. And then I take my buttercream, and as I'm holding it, I just go ahead and fill the bag. And I'd say do probably 3 or 4 big scoops. And as far as cutting, I would just cut a little bit off, enough to fit a tip in there. But we're not putting a tip in right now. So now that that's done, I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna flip up the top, and then I'm gonna just make sure that it's all going down. I like to do it over the cake in case it goes out the bottom, it's not all over the place. Then I'm gonna put it in this nook right here, twist it, and I'm ready to go. So how I'm gonna do the sides is I'm gonna just take this, and I'm gonna start at the bottom and just do a layer. And I'm gonna do somewhat of a thicker layer. See how I missed a spot here? That's fine, just go in and fill it. This does not have to be perfect because we're gonna take our cake scraper and we're gonna go around and smooth it out. So go ahead and do this all the way up the cake. This is also good practice for using your piping bag, kind of getting control of how much to squeeze out. You can do a super thick layer if you love buttercream. If you don't love it, just do enough to where you're not gonna see the cake layers. As you can tell, I did not put enough frosting in my bag, so I'm gonna show you what to do now. So what's left, I'm gonna put it on top. Now I'm going to add a scoop of buttercream, just on top. And see how up here, how I ran out of buttercream, I didn't put enough in my bag. So once I go, I'll just show you what to do. So as I pushed around the top, it's gonna fall over the edges. And then when I take my cake scraper, it's gonna smooth it out. So it's doing that. And smooth. And now if you even want to, you can just take it and kind of just smooth it around what's falling off the top. And if you have any gaps, that's what this scraping part is for. So we can go ahead and smooth it out and fill in those spots. So now that that's done, you're gonna take your cake scraper and you're going to very gently, I'll show you this way, go around your cake. I'm gonna make sure that it's flat against the whole cake so you're not gonna get a cone shape. And I'm barely pulling off anything here. So as I'm going around, I'm adding enough pressure to where it's pulling off the uneven parts, and we're just smoothing it all together. I'm gonna go around a couple of times. Keep going. As you're getting some buttercream buildup on your cake scraper. Now what I like to do, instead of refilling my piping bag multiple times, take my offset spatula, scrape it off, and using your offset spatula, just add it to the places that need the buttercream. And if you don't have enough on there, take some from your bowl and fill in those gaps. And you can be kind of messy with that. It's okay if you mess up your cake a little, because we're just going to go around and smooth it until it is good to go. There's some up here I need, down here. Okay. And when you filled in those gaps, go around and start smoothing again. And I know in my classes, probably the hardest thing is getting used to is the turntable. You're trying to, it's a million things you're trying to do at once. You're trying to smooth it, not add too much pressure, keep your buttercream on there, keep it straight, and then you're also trying to figure out how not to get the lines. So by the lines, I'm sure you see them by now. If you stop and you just keep going around and you keep stopping and letting go, you're gonna get lines all on your cake. So a good way to avoid that is either do the finger walk, and so you walk your fingers around as you're scraping, or you can reach around and pull it and then go back under your arm to smooth it out. And if you found a different way that works great for you, that's awesome. And I still see some pieces that don't have enough buttercream. We're gonna fill in those gaps. Okay. Let's go around and smooth out these. This is the hardest part. I'll sit here for 20 minutes and keep going around the cake because I'll find little imperfections that I do not like. So this is where you just have to say, it's as good as it's gonna get. I'm happy with it. Unless you're a complete pro cake decorator and you can do it 2 times and it looks perfect, and you're amazing. One day, I tell myself I'll be there. So I'm just gonna keep going around, making sure it's as smooth as I can get it. All right, so now when you're happy with the smoothness of your cake, we're gonna go around and make it extra smooth. So what we're gonna do is, if you have a metal cake cone, this is the part that it's my favorite reason to have a metal cake cone. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run it, so I'm gonna hold it like this and put hot water and just run it over to heat this side of the cone up. Some people do it with a little mini blowtorch, but I just don't trust myself. So I'm gonna stick with hot water. So I'm gonna go heat this up and I'll show you what to do next. So now that I've ran it under hot water, I wiped it off. I'm going to take it and I'm going to very gently, I really don't want to pull any buttercream off. You just want to heat up that buttercream so it pulls out all the bubbles and gets it as smooth as you can possibly get it. So now that I'm happy with that, you can either take your offset spatula or you can take your cake comb. I like to use my cake comb, and if you're looking at it, I use the top left corner. And you're going to gently go over the top and just pull it in. So you're not really getting too much on your cake cone. And I make sure that the top left corner goes into the center of my cake to where I'm not pulling it back over the side of the edge. All right, we're gonna go over. All right. All right. And if you see any spots that aren't perfect, just go around again, fill in the gap. Sometimes with the top, you almost mess up your sides a little bit, but you can just go right back over and smooth them out, okay? And then you just repeat that top step to get these edges nice and sharp. once that's done, go around, scrape off the extra. You can choose to do a drip, you can do just a swirl on top, you can leave it plain and add a topper. You can do whatever you want at this point. I have a lot of different design tutorials, and yeah, so there you have it. This is the basic 6-inch smash cake. You can do any color, all that fun stuff. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you try it out, tag me in your photos on Instagram and Facebook, and I can't wait to see them.